Good evening, everyone. This is a special meeting to review the budget and other aspects related to it. So we call the meeting to order. We'll start with the presentation and discussion of the FY 2023-24 budget, and then followed by a public hearing. And as you know, the budget has been available since April 13th, I believe. Is that correct?
Whenever Lisa posted.
Oh, those were budget meetings. Right, May 17th.
No, it's been online for,
It was the Friday before the second meeting, or before the meeting in May, whatever that date is.
I won't pinpoint the date. I thought I had it right here.
May the 5th.
May 5th, thank you. So, Mr. Kelly,
Oh, yes, ma'am.
you're up.
He doesn't get away with it that easy. So we're still here talking about the last two items on the budget. They've been posted online as well, so we'll go over those briefly. Fee schedule is something that y'all adopt separately every year with the budget. We send that out, we work with the department heads. They go out and start looking at things to see what's compatible with other municipalities. So we'll just sort of go over those. Primary changes in administration, credit card surcharge of 3%. Property tax rate, as you know, is 0.16 per $100 valuation, and that's 13 cents for the general fund and 3 cents for the sand fund. The return check fee on tax payments this year, $26 or 10% penalty, whichever is greater. So you look at the tax bill to see which one of those are greater, and that's what you charge now. That's been a change in the state as well. Recreation, some of these change on the daily classes that you saw, $4 to $5, $5 to $6, some small changes for those. And then we started looking at our festivals and concerts to try to make sure that we were doing the same as what others are. For food vendors and trailers, there's a few changes and a few decreases. Decrease was for the person pulling the slushing machine around the cart. He's confined to whatever that one item is that they're selling, so that it would not be fair to them to pay what a 10 by 10 trailer is that had a bigger market. So those were reduced. Also need to add a item. It's in the police section. Right now on the civil citation, it's a $100 fine, then a $200 fine. But in the additional information column, at the end of it where it says officer's discretion, we need to add there a max fine of $500. Council had already approved that, but we want to make sure it's in the fee schedule as well, so the public can know exactly where to look and where the officer can send them to find that information.
All right, on the changes that we've made in the zoning / building department, which used to be one department before last year, within these departments, we did some fee reclassifications after talking to both of the department heads to reflect more of the department's responsibilities. And we compared some of the fees that they charged in the zoning and building department to other municipalities in the area. And we did make some changes within our fees, which has been provided on this fee schedule, you can see. Another item that we've added this year, each department of the zoning and building departments added a stop work order fee of $200. And both of the department heads said this is something that was needed badly. And this is if work's being done without a permit or in violation, and they just keep on working after they've received their violation. So hopefully that'll stop some of that. Public Works, new yard debris pickup has been established this year at $3.50 a month. And this is for pickup of vegetative debris. One Ocean, the only changes that we made up there, and on the pier or 801, we kept the fees the same on the pier. 801, she's now starting to charge for rental items for weddings or parties or what have you, such as if she's got to get a dance floor, chair covers, linens, audio visual, extra lighting, or something like that. So we added that to the schedule.
The last thing that we have is the paid classification. That's one thing that we started doing once we moved over here to the manager's job, to make sure that everybody saw what the pay grades and classifications were being paid to the staff of the town. All classification and pay grades were increased by 2.5% to remain competitive with our local market. The increases are shown within each classification, is broken down to an annual and an hourly rate. The ones that you see there for police and fire, some of those work different shifts, so those hourly rates would be reflected on the hours they work. Everything that's listed on the sheet is figured out for regular, what is it, per year? The hours that everybody works per year?
2080.
2080. So those are the numbers that reflect that. So that would change. Part-time rates were also reviewed, and a slight increase were made for some of those, for the part-time people that we have coming in for camps and those kind of things, to try to be competitive with the other municipalities that are also looking out to bring in those college students. And new classification and grades have been developed for the recommended new positions for the fiscal year 23-24. And those are highlighted in the classification as well. Any questions?
Just clarification real quick. On the pier, they've been using outside agencies to rent their linens and what have you. That's still available if they wanted to go that way? But if they wanted a one payment fits all?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
Yeah. For catering, light fixtures, linens, chairs, tables, tents, if they have somebody on the outside source, that's fine.
Gotcha.
So, Mr. Kelly, the classification pay scale renders us competitive with comparable beach communities, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, sir. So what we looked at was what Southport, Holden Beach, Ocean Isle, Brunswick County posted theirs online, I think yesterday. So what they were looking at and what we were looking at was try to be the same salary increases that was reflected in their market, the same thing as what we were doing. Southport and Ocean Isle had done this pay study, and so we were trying to mimic the same evaluation that they had.
Because I recall earlier in our session, we had a discussion about recruitment challenges, and this is one measure that will alleviate some of those challenges, but hopefully we're working on others so that when we have critical needs, we can actually locate personnel and attract them. Is that correct?
And we were looking at other ways to be able to retain the people through hours of participation, education program, and other things to try to bring people in.
And in terms of the maximum numbers which are stated, at that point, the employee still receives a COLA and potentially a merit increase. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So that number is really not the maximum. It could be beyond that.
Well, 3 years ago, when we looked at this, what we did is we increased our market, because we looked at the people that we had on staff and the years of service that we had inside each market. And we looked at a person being a grade 1 wastewater plant operator, and eventually it'll become a grade 2. So we looked at the time duration for those people, and we increased that, the 5-year period, like others had done. So you move that number further out, so you don't have what you discussed, and we try to keep people inside that and promote them to the next position before they get to having to have a COLA.
Yeah, my concern is retaining talent and attracting talent. It's not about the number per se, but how the system functions to allow us to recruit. And then once we recruit, train people, we retain them.
Yeah.
Because
So
that's the real value over time.
Correct, because people want to see what they could make over that 30-year period. What we did is we looked at a 20-year period and add the numbers into that to take it further out, so that if that person never got advancement, we wanted to make sure they could retain and still be able to provide a service for us.
Yeah, I mean, that answers the question, why Oak Island? Well, because their package is attractive and because ultimately there are incentives to remain.
Yes, sir.
Fair enough.
So the civil citations, Mr. Kelly, that applies to dune violations, correct?
Yes,
Thank you.
and they're listed in your packet. And they were online too. But we just wanted to, on the $500, we just wanted to make sure that everybody knew And when the policeman comes to it and they ask them a question, where are you finding this information? And they quote something, we wanted to have it also quoted in another section as well.
Appreciate that.
And that could be on a first offense if it's
It's the officer's discretion.
terribly outrageous.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Like the 6-foot down beer pong room that they established. Any other questions for David and David? Thank you very much. So we'll open the public hearing, which is to receive citizens' comments on the proposed 2023-24 budget.
Gerald Edwards.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Gerald Edwards. I live at 108 Northeast 47th Street. I'm up here to comment on the portion of the proposed budget that deals with the Par 3 golf course and the subsidy from the town of Oak Island. It's on about page 125. Some of you may know the town was gifted this golf course in 2008 by the South Harbor Master Property Owners Association. This has proved to be a very bad decision by a previous town council. It was over 15 years ago. The town has had to provide a subsidy every year to keep it afloat. In the previous 5 years, this subsidy has been almost $500,000. The budget that is before you, the subsidy has increased from $212,798 to $355,329. That's nearly $30,000 a month. I like golf. I used to play golf, but at some point you need to do the physically responsible act of saying no to the continuation of this. This amount of money would buy and outfit almost 5 police cars. It would pay the salaries of several more police officers. It could be returned to the taxpayers. In May of 2017, the council voted to discontinue the majority of the subsidy to the golf course. This was tabled to a June meeting. For some reason, it was stopped. I don't know if it was for fear of a lawsuit by the South Harbor Property Owners Association or just exactly what happened. Ms. Bell, I believe you're the one that made the motion at that May 23rd meeting to stop this madness. The letter that was sent to the POA basically said the town would cut the grass and offer free play. I've got copies of the deed and the letter that the town sent in May of 2017. This action now needs to be reconsidered based on the fact that we're throwing good money after bad. This is like the timeshare that you can't get rid of, the gift that keeps on giving. The town is tied to this so-called gift until 2043. That's 18 years after the longest person on this town council is out of office. Think about that for a minute. I'd like to propose that the town go back to the proposed actions in the May 2017 letter to the Property Owners Association to see if this subsidy can be reduced drastically based on the fact that the town, and that's the taxpayers, is having to put more and more money every year into this hole in the ground. No business could ever survive on a business model like what we've got going on over there. Thank y'all very much for your time.
Thank you.
Bob Chulo.
Good evening. Bob Chulo, 163 Northeast 3rd Street. Madam Mayor, esteemed council members, staff, and residents of Oak Island. Having completed dozens of annual budget discussions and negotiations in my professional career, I know how arduous the budget task is and I'd like to thank all of you for the hard work you put into the proposed 2023-2024 budget. I was able to attend a few of the workshops and reviewed all the budget information online, and have a request which would help the residents of Oak Island better understand how their tax dollars are spent. The existing 2022 budget is a 157-page document. The proposed 23-24 budget is a 149-page document. A most helpful visual would be a simple line-by-line comparison, say in a spreadsheet. On the left-hand side, we've got all the budget items, and then we've got a 5-year trend, including the proposal for the upcoming year. The past 4 years of revenue and expenditures in the proposed 23-24 budget for revenue and expenditures, actual dollars and percentages. Look at the trends, simple and clean. This is a transparent and very easy way for all of us to understand what expenditures are increasing and which are decreasing, which revenues are increasing and which are decreasing. In their existing format with 150-plus page budgets for each year, it's very difficult to see a trend analysis unless you type in those numbers into a spreadsheet, which I started doing, by the way. Since I missed some of the budget workshops, perhaps this type of analysis was shown at the time, and if so, please accept my apologies. If not, I would suggest that in future years, this analysis be completed and published prior to a vote on the final budget. My Oak Island property taxes will increase less than $50 per year, and I thank you for arriving at this place. With a little help from a visually transparent trend analysis, I believe the residents of Oak Island will get the answers they are seeking, giving the mayor and council the comfort and support from the residents. Thank you for the service to the residents of Oak Island and our community.
Thank you.
Dara Royal.
Darrell Royal, 216 Northeast 47th Street. Good evening. The majority of current town council members have approved every budget since fiscal year 2018-19. The total additional available annual property tax revenue from two sources, one, a failure to adopt total revenue neutral tax rate after both the 2019 and 2023 revaluations, and an amount allocated for debt service on loans that have been paid off. That total is $3,245,727 in fiscal year 2023-24. The most recent audit reported an unassigned fund balance in the general fund of $20,894,653 as of June 30th, 2022. Quotes from the August 2022 Pavement Condition Survey report. Municipal pavements are in a continuous state of deterioration. It is the intent of this report to emphasize the importance of maintaining the town roadway assets. Maintaining an aggressive patching and resurfacing program should be a high priority for the town of Oak Island, in tandem with allocating adequate funds and resources to accomplish this task. Ultimately, postponing recommended maintenance activities typically leads to pavement failures and subsequently costly major rehabilitation or reconstruction. This survey indicated a total estimated maintenance need of approximately $2,326,218 to correct moderate to severe alligator cracking and moderate to severe block cracking. It is recommended that once these immediate resurfacing needs are met, the town budget for annual resurfacing of about 6.4 miles of street segment per year to achieve a desired 15-year resurfacing cycle. This will require nearly $1,230,000 annually at today's unit prices, including preparatory patching. And yet, the recommended fiscal year 2023-24 budget allocates the paltry sum of $350,000 from non-PAL bill revenue sources to be added to $300,000 in PAL bill funds for a total of $650,000 for street paving. Continuing to postpone recommended maintenance is not good stewardship of our street system. I respectfully request that Town Council appropriate $1,676,218 from fund balance in the general fund to add to the $650,000 in the recommended 2023-2024 budget to bring the total amount of street paving to that $2,326,218 to correct the alligator cracking and severe block cracking as recommended by the August 2022 Pavement Condition Survey report. As you can see, it's not about the utility cuts, it's about routine maintenance. You have the pictures in what I put at your places, and you have the money to do it. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Helen Hunt.
Can I take credit for the budget for the last 8 years?
Why not?
Good evening. I'm Helen Hunt, 167 Northwest Fifth Street, and I wish to thank Mayor White and the town councilors and the staff for all the work in preparing this budget. The budget is quite a tedious task, requiring many hours of your time. Again, well done, and thank you. It is easy enough to see that the majority of the revenues come from the local residents and businesses in the form of property taxes. The yearly audit report for the fiscal year ending June 2022 was presented at the December 2022 meeting. The auditor indicated an unassigned fund balance for the general fund and the amount of what Dara mentioned, $20,894,653. The auditor stated that Oak Island was a financially strong municipality and had a high bond rating. So with these points in mind, I feel that adequate funding exists in the general fund to build a new recreation center. Here I have a great book, Long Beach, a North Carolina town, its origin and history. If you haven't read it, it's fabulous. It gives you all the history of Long Beach since the early beginnings through 1995. In this book, it details the beginnings of the Recreation Community Center, which began in March of 1964. After many years, the Long Beach Recreation Center opened in April of 1981. By 1984, it was realized an expansion was needed. Funding was an issue. In June 1991, the town council had agreed to proceed with an application to sell bonds to finance the expansion. Nothing came out of the bond idea. No further data was recorded about the rec center. It appears funding was always the roadblock to expand the rec center. Also in December 2022, Heather O'Brien presented a PowerPoint of her fact-finding travels to nearby towns to study their rec centers. It was discussed that a new plan needed to be developed to decide if it's worth patching up the old existing building or invest in a new building. The consensus was that a plan for the rec center project would be discussed at the upcoming retreat. So here we are, 32 years later since the 1991 request for expansion. Funds exist, bonds and grants can be sought. Now that the beach management plan and the budget are completed, please find time to proceed with the plan for the new recreation center. It's time to do this for the residents, the people who are providing the majority of the revenue for Oak Island. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I had signed up.
That's it? Do I have a motion, council, to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you. All in favor? Thank you very much. Thank you to all that spoke. We appreciate your efforts. Consideration of adopting the FY 2023-2024 budget. Is there a motion before discussion? This is on page 2. Yes.
I make a motion to approve the 2023-24 budget ordinance as set the tax rate at 16 cents per $100 of assets value, which includes 3 cents for the Beach Nourishment Fund.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Anyone?
We discussed it for many hours.
I understand, but I have to give you the opportunity.
I would like to say one thing. We asked town people to come talk to us. Gerald made a very good point, Bob made a very good point, Dara made a very good point, Helen made a very good point, and I would like to say, I'm ready to vote on the budget, but I also want to tell the 4 people that spoke that I want to follow up on your thoughts, and hopefully they will be heard. I just wanted to acknowledge you.
We ready for a vote?
I am.
Council?
Ready?
All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Next item is consideration of the FY 2023-24 pay classification scale. I echo Mr. Bach's comments in the value of creating the opportunity for staff to advance. I think that's a good move for Oak Island. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the pay scale fiscal year 2023-2024 as presented by staff.
Second?
All in favor? Thank you very much. Consideration of the FY 2023-2024 fee schedule.
We just need to make sure that we add into the additional information about the maximum fine of $500 needs to be added, and the clerk has that so noted. And also, I had a typo in there. I had the $3.50 shown as current fee for the yard debris. That needs to be over into the proposed for 23-24.
That needs to be part of the motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt the fiscal year 2023-24 with the recommended additions and corrections from Mr. Kelly.
Second?
All in favor? Thank you very much. Last motion of the evening is a motion to adjourn. Do I have a motion?
Councilwoman Bell, the honors.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor? Thank you very much.
You're good at that.
Thank you, everyone
You're
who
good.
spoke. It's much appreciated.
28 minutes.